Time now to debate some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have former State Representative Rebecca Chavez-Houck and former Utah GOP Chair Rob Anderson. Great to have both of you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I would say we have a few things to talk about this week, huh?
Stuff.
Yeah, wow. Let's first focus in on what we saw with U.S. House of Representatives and President Trump. Big week there. Two resolutions, one condemning the president over tweets he sent out directed at 4 minority congresswomen, the other impeachment. We'll kind of break those down a little bit, but let's start with the one condemning the president over his statements. Rebecca, let's start with you. Our delegation, Representative Ben McAdams, voted in favor of that, but he said he was disappointed by it. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that the branches, their role is to keep each other in check. And I think there is a role for Congress to call out the executive branch if the president is acting in a way that is unstatesmanlike and or which could possibly endanger or inflate or provide incendiary situations for the public and for people in the community. And I think that that's a role that Congress should play and that it did. It sets the stage, it tells, it puts individuals in general on notice that this type of incendiary language is not acceptable. And as someone who has faced that type of language, who has been told to go home, who has experienced racial epithets, it provides a chilling effect for people from communities of color. There is a message behind that type of language. And when we swear to the Constitution as elected officials, we are there to protect the due process rights of everyone and to say, everybody, you belong here.
Rob, let's bring you in. The 3 Republican members of the House voting against that resolution.
Right. Well, you need to look at the point of Nancy Pelosi's primary job is to increase her majority in the House, take the Senate, and take the White House if she can next year. So you have some jockeying that is unlike, is a lot similar to the Utah Republican Party when they came after me, the State Central Committee, with a censorship as well. So you're finding that there's that kind of language and tone there when I think a lot of the American people want Congress to do the things they're supposed to do, legislate, and we'll talk about some issues that they need to address that are important to our country and are a priority to our country. But there's a First Amendment right of freedom of speech, and you know, my mom always said, if you don't have something nice, don't say it at all. So we can agree on that. But
so should the president have been speaking in that way?
Should he have been speaking in that manner?
Yeah.
Well, we all, most of the conservatives out there love his policies. They don't love the things he says, you know, type thing. So you know, I can only control the things that come out of my mouth. I can't control what the president's going to say.
I do hear that a lot from conservatives, especially in the state of Utah. We like what he's doing on paper, policy-wise, but we don't like the way he behaves. Your thoughts on that as a Democrat?
I would say that that benefit of the economy and all of that is not necessarily being reaped by everyone. And we want to have opportunity for all. That's what America is about, what it's about to me. And by focusing on these issues, by focusing on this incendiary language, by calling out individuals, we are not moving into a space where the opportunity is there for everyone. And so I think that we should call that out, and we should call our Congress and our elected officials to account in that regard.
Let's pull up the impeachment resolution now. It failed miserably, to put it bluntly. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the move to impeach, there's no laws that he broke. So impeachment, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to progress. So they don't have the votes in the Senate who tries an impeachment case. So really I don't know where that impeachment resolution came about or what they wanted to find out of that, but they found that there's really not a stomach amongst them, the House, to move forward with an impeachment process. And I look at the conflict that's going on right now, and the governor had an article last week by Lisa Roche in the Desert News, which basically says both sides are slaying mud here. Let's stop, let's work together, let's get things done. And I think that's where most conservatives in the country would like us to go.
I do want to hit on that, but real quick on the impeachment issue. Is that wasted time, or do you think that's a valid effort?
Again, looking at the role of Congress to assure that the other branches of government are comporting with the law. I believe that there are number of individuals within Congress that still want to see impeachment move forward. They feel that, however, this particular resolution wasn't articulated in the way that implements that process the way it should be. So I think for the votes that you saw for many Democrats against it, it was more about the process, not about whether or not impeachment should go forward.
I want to dig more into your point that you made there, because I should clarify, when Representative McAdams said he's disappointed by this, he meant that I meant to say he's disappointed that they're being tied up with that and taking their time to work on resolutions like this. And that was actually a common message from all of our delegation is, look, why are we spending our time on things like this and not getting to work?
Well, and I would make the argument, then why are we convening a anti-socialism committee? I mean, to me, in a lot of ways, that's also a commentary or a message committee. And at the end of the day, when we look at the remarks that were made by the president, they do have a chilling effect for communities of color. Children and individuals are facing hostile environments within their community because people feel that that type of language has been normalized and it's okay to talk that way. And because of that, I think that Congress, as statespersons for the country, can say this is not acceptable, and we're going to call that out when we see another individual within the branches of government acting in that way.
Okay, Rob, I'm going to give you the last word on that.
Unfortunately, we think that's become the social norm because social media has become so toxic these days that people are starting to think that that's normal conversation. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, and it shouldn't be with the highest level. Okay,
let's move on to an interesting poll coming out from Morning Consult during the week on the proposed ICE raids. Found that a slim majority, 51% of all voters, supported those. Not a surprise when you break down Republicans strongly for it, Democrats strongly against it, but independents about 46%. The ICE raids that were proposed, your thoughts on those? Are they necessary?
If you go back to the conservative Republican platform, we believe in the rule of law. Those laws have been in existence for some time now. We've got to enforce the laws at some point. We can't just pick and choose which one. The executive committee shouldn't be able to pick and choose which laws they enforce. And so how the method of enforcement is very important, though. We've got to have that compassionate outreach and look on how we're handling this. And so I think that's the conservative concern with how these ICE raids are going down is there compassion? Is each case handled separately, or is it just one glove, one size fits all kind of raid deportation?
So when we talk about these threats of deportation, what type of an impact does it have on the community?
Again, a chilling effect. People are concerned. People need to, and the community needs to understand with a lot of these families, there are individuals of mixed status often within the family. So you have people that are citizens, you have people that are following the process, and then you might have some other individuals that are within the family that are undocumented. There are concerns related to Fourth Amendment rights, again, due process. How are these raids being implemented? And people understanding what their rights are as the ICE raids are conducted. I think that would be our gravest concern, and I think all of us should be concerned. Both Democrats and Republicans have worked on criminal justice reform, and we have worked towards coming together on a lot of issues related to search and seizure, and undocumented immigrants, people within our borders. Everyone has those protections under the 14th Amendment. We need to assure that those are upheld, because a lot of times what ends up happening is citizens and others are caught in the crosshairs, and so we just need to make sure that's done correctly and protect those whose rights should be protected.
Okay, real quick, the overall immigration debate, I have about 30 seconds left, so we'll try to divide that up as evenly as possible. A big focal point. From a Republican standpoint, what is the best path forward on the immigration situation?
I think we've got to secure the borders, and I think we have to apply the laws that currently exist and enforce it. What we've allowed to happen down there is chaos on the border, and so we have cartels, we have other things that are going on that are entrenched, so we've got to enforce and create a system that we can have legal immigration, as well as now let the legislature modify those laws as they're being enforced to make them more fair and equitable.
All right, let's wrap this up in about 15 seconds.
Okay, super. So, part of the challenge is the fact that both Democrats and Republicans have had the opportunity to fix these laws for many, many years, and we really should have done a good job of it. During the Obama administration, there are things that could have been improved upon. More funding for the courts, more support for individuals to take those pathways to legal citizenship and legal residency, and that's where the resources should go. I think our security is also important, but I'm more concerned about the security, cybersecurity in our community than I am related to building a wall.
All right, we're going to have to end it on that note. Thanks for being here. Great discussion.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.